Most yeshiva bachrim have things somewhat mapped out for them. Spend a year or two learning in yeshiva in Israel, return to the States, oftentimes to a place like Lakewood or Muncie, spend 6 months in the freezer, and then start shidduchim, dating for marriage. However, sometimes these guys end up staying in Israel for another year, and another year, and sometimes they settle in Israel and build their lives here in the Holy Land. Every so often, there are those who ask the question, why aren't more people staying here after yeshiva? In this episode, we take a look at two younger light, who not only decided to stay in the Holy Land, but have founded organizations to help bring Kedushas haaretz back to the forefront of the consciousness of the yeshiva world. It's never easy being an immigrant. Everyone knows that Israel has changed over the decades. We hear how difficult it was for the immigrants of political Zionism in the 1900s. We can't imagine what the Vilna Gaon, the father of the Yeshiva movement, had to endure in the late 1700s during his failed attempt at making Aliyah to the Holy Land. According to Rabbi Beryl Wine, he made it as far as Odessa and then literally missed the boat. It was the students and children that eventually actualized his vision and moved to Israel in the early 1800s to build what became known as Hayishuv Hayashan, the Old Settlement. However, this is often forgotten or buried deep within the collective consciousness of today's yeshiva world. Yoel Berman from Kedushas Tzion explains.
They're all our role models in Talmidei Agro. Talmidei Baal Shem Tov also our role models, and they overcame enormous difficulty in order to come here. I mean, that was very important for them. Just because it's easier today and you can just hop on a plane, that's not a reason that it should be any less important to us today. If they're willing to go through the Gehenna they went through in order to come here, in order to live here, and they were happy doing it, then it doesn't make sense for us to ignore all of that.
But it wasn't just the Vilna Gaon that had challenges moving to Israel. During the biblical times of Yehoshua, after an entire generation died in the desert because they lacked the confidence, faith, and trust in God to enter the land with Moshe Rabbeinu, the Israelites eventually conquered many idolatrous and morally bankrupt Canaanite cities under Yehoshua's leadership. Yarmut, in the outskirts of Ramat Beit Shemesh, is one such city from biblical times. Nachliel, a non-profit that organizes tours for English-speaking families to discover the Holy Land, brought a group to the ancient city. The tour guide, Nissan Eisenman, explains.
It looks like we're standing outside Ramat Beit Shemesh Daled, but that's a farce. Indeed, they were supposed to call this Yarmut, but the builders told the Iriyah that it won't be good for advertising. In the Haredi population, Yarmut. Where's Yarmut? Ramat Beit Shemesh Daled is a better seller. Before Yeshua, before us, before we entered Eretz Yisrael, there was a Canaanite city over here called Yarmut. The king of Yarmut was Piram Melech Yarmut, and we are about to enter his city.
Today, not only does Israel have modern-day amenities such as running water, sewage, roads, but it also has economic opportunity, a high-tech industry of world renown, a booming economy, as well as diversity of communities for nearly any immigrant in any language. There are new English-speaking communities and schools popping up all the time, and in places such as Ramat Beit Shemesh, many of these schools are vibrant and flourishing. Avraham Shusteris started Nachliel to create awareness of the possibility for English-speaking Torah Jewry from around the world to build a life in Israel.
So Nachliel was created to connect Torah Jews to Eretz Yisrael. We feel that now is a time unlike ever before, that living in Eretz Yisrael is more possible. Life here is vibrant, it's exciting, the opportunities here are like never before. There's so much here to offer people, and it's just the natural choice from Jews to live here. I moved here 3.5 years ago, despite the fact that at the time everyone told me that I was crazy and that it's impossible to live here. I came here, I was prepared for a very difficult time. Because I did the research and I spoke to enough people, I found that my experience was actually not nearly as difficult as what I had expected, and I was very pleasantly surprised. My goal is to try to reach out to other people like myself that are still back in the States, that still don't understand what exists here, what's available, what opportunities are here for them, and how vibrant and exciting and fulfilling and enriching Jewish life is here in Eretz Yisrael.
Why did you start this program?
Part of the reason we're doing this is because having lived here for several years, sometimes you stop appreciating where you're living. These trips give people an opportunity to take a step back and realize, wait a second, what is this place? What kind of history and beauty and nature is all around us. So we want to create these trips for both people that are still in the States and people that are living here. so they could get a chance to connect to the land, to meet each other, and to see that living here is not just a pipe dream, it's real.
Kedushas Tzion started to bring the holiness of the Holy Land back to the consciousness of the Torah world.
Charedim from all sorts of backgrounds connect to the practical significance of Eretz Yisrael today and manifests itself in many different ways. Number one, Aliyah. That's number one. Number two, a personal connection to Eretz Yisrael. It's not just another mitzvah. There's something much more than that. We're supposed to be together as Hashem's nation, living here according to the Torah. Hashem intended this place for that. It just comes out in so many different ways, and these are people that connect to that. Shabbos was the yahrzeit of the Ema Banim Tzmeicha, B'Yisachar Shlomo Teichta. He was a Hungarian Rav who, in the beginning, like a lot of Hungarian Rabbanim, were a bit against the whole movement to go back to Eretz Yisrael, and then during the wartime he flipped over and wrote an entire treatise on this connection that we should have to Eretz Yisrael and how we should do everything in our power to push this movement of moving to Eretz Yisrael, of being connected to Eretz Yisrael. He felt that's the tikkun that we need to do in order to get to the Geula. These kind of get-togethers is what's actually facilitating from small grassroots organizations becoming a whole movement.
According to a 2016 study by the Pew Research Center, about 62% of Haredim said that the term Zionist did not describe them accurately. But that was probably the wrong question. To the Haredim, it is more about living in the Holy Land in order to be able to do mitzvahs as the people who chose God. It is strangely ironic that many may find it astonishing today that religious Jews also have a deep yearning and passion for living here in Eretz Yisrael. In fact, as we saw in 2021, approximately 75% of those making Aliyah from North America were Orthodox, hands down the largest group in 2021. According to the Israel Democracy Institute, Haredim, not including other Orthodox Jewish groups, will comprise 32% of Israel's population by the year 2065. Although the politics of the 20th century may have seemed confusing, there's no question that the future of Israel looks more religious than the early founders of the modern state could ever have dreamed.